Welcome to another episode of Chess Sports Talk. And guess what time it is? That's right. College football is back. Week 1/week 0 starts August 24th, and the fun festivities run all the way to September 2nd. And we'll have a slew of games we got to look at. There's a lot of games that are going to have some interest into it, I think. Other games, I'm just not really going to cover too much. There's a lot of things happening this year. The Pac-12 is down to 2. ACC's at 17. The Big 12's at 16. The Big 10's at 18. SEC's at 16. It's been a wild and crazy time frame. James Madison and Jacksonville State and Sam Houston are now eligible for conference titles. Kansas State is playing its first year in FBS football. College football playoffs have been expanded to 12 teams with top five conference champions all getting in, with the top 4 going to more likely the Big 4. So there's a lot of hype going on. You know, can Georgia get back to the top? Where's Texas landed all this? How's USC, Oregon, Washington handle the Big Ten? Or does the Big Ten handle the West Coast? How much trouble can Cal, Stanford, SMU cause the ACC? Would the new Big 12 be competitive? I mean, you still have quality teams like Utah and Kansas State and Iowa State, Oklahoma State, Cincinnati, Central Florida, Houston, and BYU all made debuts last year. Still solid teams there. Arizona had a great showing in the last season. So there's a lot of teams you can look at and see what happens. Can Michigan and Alabama still be relevant with new head coaches? A lot of things to look at. But I'm not going to dive too much on who I think is going to make the playoffs because there's just too many things, kind of nuances really kind of go out there. I think probably like Ohio State, Oregon, probably Penn State as well, coming out of the Big Ten. Go Texas and Georgia and Oklahoma out of SEC. ACC, probably looking at Florida State, Clemson, possibly Louisville. Big 12. I'll probably go Utah. It's probably about the only one coming out of there. I think only one's going to come out of that conference. That gives you 10. I think Notre Dame will slide in there. That'd be 11, the 12th member. It could be any member of the group of 5 coming out of the American or the Mountain West. But I'm probably going to go out on a limb and say James Madison will probably make a huge statement this year and might get in there. I mean, that'd be a hot take. But we'll see how this things play out. And let's go ahead and just start talking about the games coming up, starting on August 24th. That's a Saturday. Things will kick off in Dublin, Ireland, where we have the preseason 10th-ranked Florida State Seminoles taking on the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Georgia Tech ended it last season on a very high note. They went through ACC play and made statements. Florida State has got to retool their toolbox to come back out there again. They had great showings throughout the season. Also had a lot of flops. They got screwed in the playoffs last year. If the 12-team format was in place last year, I think no one really questioned it too much if they went to 4th. Just saying. But that's beside the point. That's in the past. We're moving forward. With the first game of the season out there in Dublin, you get the Irish people more taste of college football. But I think Florida State is going to be too much. Right now, the line has Florida State by 11. I don't see anything right now. I don't think Georgia Tech's quite up there. I think they're starting to make the strides right now in that program to get them moved up. And nothing would be better than to smack Florida State down. I think a lot of ACC teams are looking to do that to Florida State and Clemson with all their smack talk trying to leave and pushing the legal aspect to try to get out of the ACC. So you're going to look at the ACC teams play these two schools even tougher than before. We'll just have to see at that play matches that intensity from the fan bases. But I still going to give it to Florida State. I don't mind the 11. I think that might be slightly too high, but I'll give it to them. And that's one way to start the weekend. Then we'll go to Thursday, August 29th. This is technically the start of week 1. And this is where we see a lot of teams kind of go at it. One I'm going to kind of look at, it's going to be a little interesting, is North Carolina visiting Minnesota. Now, this is probably not going to be high on a lot of radars just because of these two programs. These are really good. This is a good mid-card matchup. If you're like a UFC fan, a boxing fan, wrestling fan, whatnot, you always have those mid-card matches. And this is one of those mid-card matches in football. Mac Brown's got the Tar Heels in good position. They've had some great years, but they have to now replace Drake May. Do they have the talent there to do that? I think they do. Minnesota's always had a solid teams. They just can never, break the ceiling and really, stamp their teams in the Big Ten. So these two programs definitely have something to prove to really get themselves moved up. And right now, the line has Minnesota at 2.5. I mean, that's an interesting take, but I think I'll give it to North Carolina just because of Mac Brown, for no other reason right now. Nothing against Minnesota. I think this is going to be a really good, entertaining game between these two. Should really could set up some possibilities down the road for that number 12 spot in the playoff. Maybe. Highly doubt it, but you never know. Interesting one for those group of 5 members, Coastal Carolina, Jacksonville State. We'll see if Coastal Carolina can continue to do this. Jacksonville State had a decent year last year, was able to get to the bowls because of exceptions. There's too many bowl games. So they were allowed to participate even though they were technically ineligible because they're still transitioning. This year's not going to be a problem, even if they do make it. But definitely one of those interesting matchups between these two. And I'll give it to the Gamecocks because right now they got a 3.5-point advantage. And I think they're going to start making the statements in the group play and try to, get that little tick for them in that aspect. Then Friday, August 30th. Not many games really on the docket that really might say anything. The only game I highlighted was TCU at Stanford. Right now, TCU's favored by 8. I don't really see much of an issue with this one. I know TCU always seems to have a decent squads coming in. They got shocked last year by Colorado opening season, so I'm sure they don't want to have a repeat performance. So they're going to get them playing just right. TCU is always another program that seems to always find talent and retool after every graduation. So TCU's by 8. Also, I think that might be slightly a bit high, but I'm cool with it, and I'm going with the Horned Frogs. Saturday, August 31st, we'll start off with the Aflac kickoff out there in Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia, between old Southern Conference rivals Clemson and Georgia. There's going to be a huge clash between these two Southern behemoths to see who's going to really take the center stage and lead in the power conferences moving forward. Right now, the line has Georgia by 14. Clemson struggled early in the season last year, didn't start getting things together towards the end. Georgia was pretty much unstoppable until the SEC championship game, where they tripped and fell and lost the race. And then this lost a playoff bid and a chance to three-peat. But Kirby Smart's a good coach. I'm sure he's got a bunch of talent already lined up to replace everyone they just lost. Clemson, also very well coached as well. Dabo Swinney's going to definitely try and get the best out of his kids. And it should be a good matchup between these two programs. I will give the edge to Georgia in this one. It's more of a home game for them anyways, even though it's a neutral site, but it's definitely one of those to really highlight a possible future matchup. Who knows? Next up, we'll go over to Morgantown, where the Mountaineers will play host to Penn State. This could have been a conference matchup years ago when Penn State was looking to create a Northeast-style conference. West Virginia is one of those programs that was invited to join. It all hinged on Pitt because BC and Syracuse are accepted invitations to join the Big East in basketball. The Pitt followed suit and just ended any chance of a different version of the Big East or Northeast Conference. If I think that was a conference then or not, but a collaboration of those programs out there that had Penn State, West Virginia, Virginia Tech, Pittsburgh, Syracuse, Boston College, Rutgers, Pittsburgh. So there's been a who's who out there out east, but enough of the history lesson. Franklin always has great years. Just every time he takes on Michigan and Ohio State, he loses, and that's always his Achilles heel. We'll see how this one plays out this year, but taking on Mountaineers, I don't think it'll be much of an issue for them. Right now, they're favored by 10. This one, I will push back. I think the Mountaineers will play them tough. They always seem to play tough, and it just kind of squander towards the end. So I'll give the win to the Nittany Lions, but I'll go by 7. I'll play this one a little bit more conservatively. And then an early Florida showdown out there in the swamp. We got 19th ranked preseason ranked Miami visiting the Gators right out the gate. Definitely on those ABC, ESPN channels of your viewing pleasure. And this is going to be interesting for sure. Florida had some miscues last year. Of course, new coach, new system, trying to get everything in place. Miami is just one of these programs that always have high hopes, and then they fall short. They're just a Heckle and Hyde type of character last year, and no one could figure out which version was going to show up. I have a feeling that drama will continue to proliferate the Miami Hurricanes. And right now they're favored by 2.5 in the swamp. I'm taking the Gators to put the chomp on them and, make the Hurricanes just a tropical swell. All right, another one of those I already can't say group of 5 matchups, but you have UNLV visiting the University of Houston. And UNLV had a decent season last year, probably even great. Probably one of the better seasons they've had in a long time, since the days of Randall Cunningham. That's how long it's been for the Running Rebels out there in Vegas to have a good football program. And they still have some of those key players back for this season. And Houston's got to try to rebound probably a lackluster performance their first year in the Big 12. Now they got that under the belt, and they're looking to try to make a name for themselves. Best way to do it, knock off UNLV. And Houston's definitely one of these teams that are not easy out, no matter where you play them at. They play you tough, and it's going to be a very unique showdown between these two. Right now, the Cougs are favored by 1. And I'm going back and forth on this one, but I think I will also go with Houston on this one, even though I want to pick the Running Rebels. But it's a coin toss for me. It really is. I mean, you probably ask me later on this week, and I'll probably say UNLV. So it's hard to really, fixate on which one to really hamper on, but I'll give it to Houston and a nail-biter. In a huge matchup already out in the gates for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, as number 7th preseason will head to the 20th ranked preseason, home of the 12th man, the Texas A&M out there in College Station, Texas. This will be a test between these two programs. Notre Dame's got to replace a quarterback. No longer have Hartman. Quarterback's always been kind of a tough thing. They have to replace running back. A lot of key pieces have to be replaced off that team. but it's Notre Dame. They always get the talent. A&M's another institution. Always seems to find talent. They just never really mold it to do much. We'll see how this one kind of plays out. Right now, Aggies are favored by 2.5, and I can't blame the early favorite A&M, but they always seem to disappoint when they are favored. And that's when, they always seem to let their fans down. And, well, I'm going to show my bias. As you can tell, I will take the Irish in this one in a very, very close contest. And it's just going to be who makes the least amount of mistakes and who can capitalize on those mistakes. Both of them should have good defenses. It's just which offense can really thrive. And you'll see if the Irish secondary can improve from last year and hold A&M back. But A&M seem to have always had issues with the quarterback play. So we'll see how this one plans out, but I will go with the Irish. Then we head up to the Big House, where number 9, Michigan, play host to Fresno State. And Fresno State's looking, and they have a lot of their key players back from their last season. Should be halfway decent. However, going up to take on Big Blue, I don't see them pulling Appalachian State and winning, but they would definitely make a case probably for the first half and make it really close, if not leading. But I think that's when Michigan will finally kick it in, shake off the cobwebs, the rust or whatnot, the jitters, and start playing, shut down the Bulldogs. Right now, they're favored by 21. I want to push back that expectation. I'm going to go at least 14. But, yeah, 21 is a bit high. So I will probably pick Fresno State for points. But for victory-wise, I'm going to Wolverines. And Sunday, September 1st, out there in Vegas, we'll have 23rd ranked USC taking on 13th ranked LSU. Well, this one is going to be definitely interesting. That Kelly's always had good game plans against USC when he coached the Irish. But I think you're going to see a same issue as they did last year against Florida State in the first game of the season, and have a letdown. The guy just totally, wrecked the season. USC's got to do a lot of retooling. Losing Caleb Williams is a huge thing, but you saw how that he played at the end of the season, how that team just completely collapsed. LSU's got to replace their star quarterback as well. So there's going to be new quarterbacks. USC's got hopefully it's fixed that defense. That defense was atrocious last year. That cost them so many games. If they could fix that and have a decent play at quarterback, I think USC could win. Right now, LSU is favored by 6. I'm going on a limb. I will pick the Trojans on this one to upset the Tigers, but I'm not very keen on this decision. We'll see how this one plays out. And then the final game of Week 1, Labor Day night, September 2nd. We'll go back to a team that started this whole process in Dublin, Ireland. Now we get to go to Tallahassee, and Florida State will play host to Boston College. This one's going to be pretty much a one-sided affair. Early on, it's a 21.5 favorite by the Seminoles. I don't think it's going to be much of a difference, but I think Florida State should have an easy 2-0, Week 0-1 record and into Week 2. Give them a leg up on a lot of the other teams. We'll see how this one continues, but if they can get those 2 wins early in the season, that helps them out and go from there. Well, there you go. I covered more than 10. I said 10. I ended up covering like 13. I earmarked a couple other games on there. Another one I kind of looked at was like Boise State, Georgia Southern, another group of 5 matchup that should be interesting. And most of these matchups are not that featuring like a FCS team taking on FBS team or a group taking on the power. So that's basically some of the matchups in this early week. Georgia State, Georgia Tech should be another interesting one. That was last year. Probably a surprise to a lot of people. But we'll see how things kind of play out, especially with Tarleton and Baylor. Tarleton, now here's like, where the heck is that? And that's a D2 program that completes transition. Now it's fully eligible in FCS. We'll see how they transition, but they had a pretty good showing last year against Baylor. Gave them a scare. So we'll see what happens this year. Richmond and Virginia should be an interesting one out there if you're a UVA fan. See if they can hold off against the Spiders. See how South Carolina retools when you get Old Dominion to come in. So there's definitely some interesting games out there, but we'll just concentrate on the ones that talk about the 10, the game in Dublin between the Seminoles and the Jackets, North Carolina and Minnesota, Coastal against Jacksonville State, TCU Stanford, Clemson Georgia, Penn State West Virginia, Miami Florida, UNLV Houston, the Irish and the Aggies, Fresno State Michigan, USC LSU, and BC Florida State to close it out. So technically 12. I just can't count, and it's just like I said. There's just so many games going on. These pretty much this week and a half, about 2 weeks of college football action. Gives me time to do an NFL preview in between that, and let me know which games you're looking forward to this extended week 1 weekend, to include quote unquote week 0. Who's your favorite right now to win the championship? There's a lot of quality teams out there. I would not be surprised if Georgia's able to get back to the top, or is it time for Ohio State to get back up there? I don't know. Let's mix it up in the comments below. It really helps promote this the algorithm, get this video out to more people. If you really like what I do and you've been here through to the end, go ahead hit that thumbs up, especially like the ramblings of an old man who doesn't know what the heck he's talking about half the time. Stumbles through everything. Really appreciate it. It really helps me out. Another thing y'all can do, and a lot of you guys are really starting to do that, and I appreciate y'all for doing so. Let's go ahead and subscribe. Doesn't cost you anything. All you can do is click that subscribe button, click that bell icon, turn on notification. Next time I post any more content on my channel. And I'll see you next time on Chat Sports Talk.